As a fearful avoidant, chances are you have come into contact with emotional manipulation when you were a child, because the fearful avoidant attachment style, out of all the attachment styles, is the one that has to do the most with emotions and with emotional intensity. And that is exactly what is being used in emotional manipulation. So, what this means is that emotions are used to get somebody to do the things you want them to do. So you're using emotions to get to somebody else to do what you want them to do. And this is actually quite normal in raising children, weirdly enough. Definitely, I think in the generation that we were raised in, but it definitely has consequences. And um, the more intense the emotions are, the more likely it is that you develop the fearful avoidant attachment style. So we are going to dive into 12 signs that you really do need to be able to recognize, because I remember that when I started recognizing these and knowing that it wasn't me, gosh, that was just such a load off my back. It was such freedom to know that it wasn't me. So I can't wait for you to feel that too. The first one is making you feel guilty about what you did. Um, Making you feel like you really did something really wrong. And you might think, well, obviously you have to do that as a parent, right? Because otherwise children just mess up all the time. But there are so many different ways to parent, and so many ways to not make your child feel guilty or make them feel like they did something wrong. So when you do feel a lot of guilt or a lot of shame, it's very likely that you have been emotionally manipulated as a child quite often, and you weren't able to recognize that this isn't you. This is actually unhealthy behavior on my parents or caregivers' part. Um, so that is the first. That is the first sign. The second sign is, I'm just thinking how much I tell with every point, but the second one is making you feel bad about something you did, because some parents, fearful avoidant parents, have the belief that the worse you feel about something, the faster your behavior will change. And I actually remember that my dad would say this, well, I have to make you feel it, because otherwise you won't do it or you won't change. And so whenever I looked like I didn't care enough, or I looked kind of tuned out, which can be actually a sign of dissociation, um, he would just double down and make sure that I felt it, so that I would change my behavior. And he did this, I believe, from good intent. He just wanted me to be accepted by the world, and so it was important that I changed my behavior into what he thought would be acceptable by the world. But what it led to was me just feeling bad all the time because of everything I did, but especially when I did something wrong or when I thought I did something wrong. So using your emotion, your feeling of feeling bad against you, so that you will change your behavior. That is absolutely emotional manipulation. And it wasn't you. It wasn't you. That is an emotional manipulation tactic. Um, Another one is making you feel shame about things that came up naturally. And that can be anything. So anything you just say, any way you express yourself, if somebody kind of laughs at you or makes a remark, is critical. Um, Even when you're very happy, for instance, you're just really happy for no reason at all, and one of your parents say, "Oh, why are you so elated? Why are you so happy?" Um, that is actually kind of like a form of an emotional manipulation, because they make you feel like it's weird what you're doing. It's weird what comes up naturally, and they make you feel ashamed, because in giving that remark, or in laughing about it, they kind of set you outside of normal standards. They make you feel like it's laughable behavior, which leads to shame, and shame leads to a lot of things. Um, One of which depression and having social anxiety, just to name a few very big ones, obviously. But I mean, shame has such a big impact. So anytime your parents made you feel like you were different than everybody else because of something you did, and again, I think my parents did this also because they wanted me to be accepted by the world. So they kind of like coaxed me or coached me to only express acceptable things. And what I learned from my mother-in-law, she just keeps saying to my daughter, which is amazing to see, um, if she does anything, she's like, "Oh yeah, well everybody has that sometimes. That's totally fine." And that's like a mantra she keeps repeating, and I'm like, "Oh, now I know where Aryan, my husband, has that unshakable self-confidence from. He just doesn't have shame around things. He just knows he's good enough." It's beautiful. So that's just a way of our parents and the way they handle things. So it wasn't you. You're not weird. You're not bad. You're not shameful. It was just the way your parent reacted, and they have that same shame, obviously. Also, they don't do it to make you feel weird or bad. They just wanted you to be accepted. Another one is not allowing your feelings to be there. So what my dad would do is that he would refuse me something because he was also very adamant in me not growing up spoiled, which I think a lot of fearful avoidant parents also have. Again, to be accepted by the world. And then when he said no and I was upset by that, my reaction wasn't allowed to be there. So he would say no. I would cry, for instance, being a small child and being upset that what I wanted wasn't possible. And then he would get mad at me for that reaction because he didn't want me to get spoiled, be spoiled. And to him, that was a spoiled reaction. But that belief of believing that you have to make sure that your kids don't get spoiled is actually also a fearful avoidant core belief. And getting angry or using emotions to control a reaction to something you said or something you did is absolutely emotional manipulation. You are saying something and you are not allowing the reaction of the other person to be there. That's emotional manipulation. If you do anything to try to coach that, to fix that, to control that. So what I learned in that is that whenever my daughter wants something, I absolutely do say no. I put up boundaries because I know that's healthy. It's a healthy thing to do. But she is allowed to be as upset as she is. And she sometimes just cries. She's 2 now, so that's the age also. She just cries, she gets mad, and obviously, I mean, that's just such a human reaction. And I allow that to be there, and I empathize with her. I say, I totally understand that you want that, and it sucks that we can't do that right now. And so I stay with her, and I don't make her feel, not to say that I'm like the perfect parent, because I'm not at all. But I try to stay with her instead of trying to control her reaction and making her feel alone in that then, and having her suppress that. So the emotional manipulation is trying somebody saying something to you, telling you to do something, telling you not to do something, and then trying to control your reaction. So the healthy thing to do is just to allow the reaction to be there. And sometimes you can put up boundaries in the reaction. If somebody's really angry, you can say, okay, I see you're very angry. I totally understand, but I'm going to step away right now. So it's not that you just have to accept everything that comes over you then, but you don't try to control the reaction, and you don't try to make them feel bad about their reaction. The next time is saying that you are over exaggerating, that you're being dramatic, that you're being too sensitive. And I think a lot of fearful avoidants recognize this. This is also emotional manipulation. They do something which can actually be quite upsetting. So they get angry or they do whatever. And you have your own natural reaction to that, which might be crying, for instance. And because that is triggering to the fearful avoidant parent, they will say that you are the one that is having a problem. You are the one that's over exaggerating. You are the one that's dramatic. You are the one that's too sensitive. And for so long, I completely believed that I was the problem, that it was me, that I was too much, and that I shouldn't make such a big deal out of things. And now I completely see that their behavior was not okay. It was not okay, and my reaction, whatever that reaction was, is totally legitimate. So parents or caregivers tend to do this when they just need that sense of control, and a lot of fearful avoidant parents have that. But when you have heard when you were younger that you were dramatic or too sensitive, it is never, ever, 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 ever you. Ever, ever. It's not you. It is not you. Keep repeating it because it really is true. You are not dramatic. You are not overly sensitive. There's no such thing. There's only a thing where your parent couldn't handle your reaction. And they try to manipulate you into reacting in a way that they could handle, which is probably very rational and calm because that's the only thing they can handle. But it wasn't you. I just want you to really, really let that soak in. It wasn't you. You were not dramatic. You were not overly sensitive. You just had a natural reaction, and the healthy thing to do is to let somebody have their natural reaction and to stay present with it. So now you know. And I hope that already gives you a lot of freedom. We're not done yet, though. We're not done yet. The next one is giving you the feeling that whatever their emotions are, that's your fault. So parents, a lot of parents have this tendency to tell their children, well, now you've gonna make mommy cry. Now you've gonna make dad angry. And that just gives you the feeling that you are responsible for everybody's emotions. Whereas I think we already know everybody is responsible for their own emotions and their own feelings. So your parents weren't able to emotionally regulate themselves, and that's hard. I mean, being a parent now myself, I know that that's hard to always be the one that has to regulate myself. It's so much easier to just project it onto your child, but it's not her, in my case, my daughter's responsibility. It's my responsibility. The way I feel is my responsibility. My emotions are my responsibility. It doesn't matter what she does. It really does not matter what she does. So when you've heard when you were younger that the emotional reactions to whatever you did was your fault, that's emotional manipulation. Because it makes you responsible for the emotions of somebody else, and that's not the way it works. They are responsible for that. And they can put up boundaries for sure. I mean, it's not that you just get to do whatever you want to do, or in the case of my daughter, it's not like we let her do anything. We put up boundaries when she does something that we don't want or that we think is not safe. But I will try to never ever make her feel like she is responsible for my feelings. That I will never tell her, now you're making me sad. Because that's my thing. That's my responsibility. Another emotional manipulation tactic is just getting angry. Because anger is a very powerful emotion, and especially in a parent-child dynamic, there's a lot of intimidation in anger. You have to see that when you are a child, you're very small. Like literally, your size is just small. So when you look up to your parent, they are towering over you. They are so big. They are so big. They are physically way stronger than you, and you know that. They are completely the sole provider of your livelihood, of your food and survival. And so when somebody that's that much bigger than you, that much physically stronger, and that important to your survival gets angry, that will do something to your nervous system, and you will do anything to stay safe. And so a lot of parents use anger to get their children to do what they want. And that's emotional manipulation, because they use an emotion to manipulate you into doing something they want. Are you seeing the pattern here? So there are so many different ways to do this differently, because I totally understand that you think, well, but how are they supposed to do that? And what I now try, and I'm really not trying to make it seem like I'm the perfect parent, because I'm learning, I'm stumbling along, I'm fumbling along, I'm not perfect at all. But what I try to do is see it as, why does my daughter have to do the things I want them to do? Of course, there are a few things that are non-negotiables that are just very important for her health. But other than that, I think a lot of parents have the tendency to feel like their children are kind of like puppets in a way. Might sound weird, but I see so many people just kind of ordering their children around. Do this, do that, do this, do that. And that just always intrigues me, where that comes from, that we feel like children are just our little puppets. Anyway, that was kind of like a tangent. The next one, an emotional manipulation technique, is the phrase, well, I said I was sorry. And so you feel like when somebody has said sorry, you're not allowed to talk about it anymore. You're supposed to be over it, done with it, have dealt with it, processed it, healed from it. That's your problem. That they're making it your problem. And this is such manipulation, because it doesn't give you the feeling. I need to drink water because otherwise I'll cough. It doesn't give you the feeling that you get to really process what has happened and get to really express whatever needs to be expressed, for you to allow yourself to let it go or to forgive. So this is, they probably feel bad when they say this, and then they think that saying sorry is like a magical word that will make it all go away. And when that doesn't work, a lot of people that use this phrase feel anxious and out of control. When you come back to whatever happened, they feel like, well, what I said sorry, shouldn't it be over now? And then they say this thing, well, I said I was sorry, mostly in like a little bit argumentative or angry tone. And what they do there is try to make you feel bad again, so that you are the one that needs to make up to them. Are you following what I'm saying? So because they feel bad and they don't know what to do anymore, they try to make you feel bad, so that they get back into the position of power where you have to make up to them. I really hope this is clear. So they are unable or unwilling to really be present with your pain and to listen without judgment. And they feel out of control, so they need that control back. And so they try to make you feel bad. And it's very important to notice this, because otherwise, especially when you've experienced this your whole life, you can feel guilty. Like, oh yeah, they did say they were sorry, and then why am I still feeling this way? Whatever you're feeling is completely legitimate. And it could even be legitimate that the other person says, you know what, I see you're still in pain, and I do want to work this out, but I don't have the emotional capacity right now. I don't have the space right now. They can put up boundaries too, that's fine. But what they're trying to do with this sentence, I said I was sorry, is trying to take back control by putting you in the position where you feel bad about yourself and you have to make up to them. Okay, I hope that's clear. I'm gonna leave it at that. Then the next one is trying to make you feel it and trying to take it seriously. Trying to make you take it seriously. I touched on this before. So it could be that your parent just felt like you have to be completely thoroughly aware of what you did wrong, otherwise you won't change. And that is emotional manipulation. It's trying to make you feel bad. I will leave it at that because I touched on it before. The next one is talking to you in a way that is blamey. So trying to blame you for whatever they feel, whatever went wrong, and really trying to play into you feeling guilty. Um, so, for instance, a parent could say, but you said you were gonna drink tea with me. Why don't you want to do that now? I completely thought we were going to do that. They are trying to make you feel guilty. Whenever somebody is trying to make you feel guilty by using blame or by just playing into your guilt feelings, that's emotional manipulation. You always have a right to say no. You always have a right to change your mind, and they will have to deal with that. And that sounds harsh and selfish, but when everybody knows that, when everybody sees the world that way, we will have so much more peace and so much more love, because everybody will just really do what feels good to them. And in this case, the person, the parent that wanted to drink tea, of course it's not fun if plans change, but whatever feelings come up for them, they will have to deal with that. They will have to deal with that. It's completely flipped around, isn't it? And the next one, the last one, which is just kind of like a lot of different things. Holding back love. Trying to isolate you, or just sending you to your room and isolating you, threatening, leaving you alone or threatening to leave, getting angry, constant criticism or feedback, talking in a, how do you say this? I only see the Dutch word here. In a diminishing tone? No, that's not the word. That's not the word. I'm going to try to look it up. Because diminishing is another word. Sorry. Google translating while we're talking. Taunting. There we go. I knew I wasn't gonna get it. Taunting you in whatever way. Diminishing whatever you say or whatever you feel. Minimalizing it, making you feel like it's not a big deal at all. Or denying your reality. All of those things include emotional manipulation, but the core of emotional manipulation is that they make you feel bad about something, and they're using emotions to get you to do something that they want. Whenever you see anybody or recognize anybody doing this, know that it is not you. That is unhealthy behavior. You always have a right to say no. You always have a right to change your mind. You always have a right to put up boundaries wherever and whenever. Nobody has the right to make you feel bad, try to make you feel bad for anything. And the beauty of this is, now that you know this, and now that you will start to recognize this more and more, it will free up so much. I don't feel guilty anymore when somebody is upset by something I did, or when I've put up a boundary, because other people believe too that you're not allowed to put up boundaries. I don't have a problem with that anymore at all. And that gives so much freedom, so much freedom. I now live a life that I want to live, and that is true to me. And so that's just, I really do wish that for you too. But I recognize it so easily, even if it's very subtle. And then I know, well, it's not me. You're just trying to make me feel bad because you're trying to get control over the situation. And the beautiful thing is, the more you practice with this, the more you will even be able to sympathize or empathize in those situations, and say, well, I see that this is hard for you, and I understand. It's still a no. So it's so freeing to be able to do this, and the quality of my relationships have become so much better because of it. So that's emotional manipulation. Recognizing it is a key to freedom. Let me know in the comments below whether this was helpful, whether you've learned something new, and maybe you felt some of your own guilt and shame just disappear. I really wish that for you. I'm so happy you are here, and I will see you in the next one.